Scott, obviously another comeback win for this team. Talked about the resiliency with some of the other players, but from your perspective, to see that second half performance, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually we started the game really strong, and we took control of the game. We were able to keep possession. We were able to pin them back. We didn't create a ton of chances, but the goal came very much against the run of play, and that can be really frustrating for the group. But I thought even though that did happen, there wasn't a ton of frustration, and I think there's a lot of belief in the group that, okay, we're 1-0 down, we've got 45 minutes, that we can come back and we can score goals, and that we would fight our way back into the game. So I think it shows again that the group has belief, and every time we do this, there should be, more and more belief in, from the group in what we're doing.
What was the conversation at half? What sort of adjustments did you make?
Well, I think when we were talking about the conversations, we had to frame what just happened, right? Which was we were in control, and that we, for all of our control though, we didn't create enough chances, right? We didn't run in behind them, we didn't move in behind them, we didn't pass in behind them. So we wanted to create more chances for that control, and so that was the goal. Now, NC State made some changes at halftime as well that made it a little bit more difficult for us to build out, and then you saw us have to go a little bit more direct. But in the end, we knew that we had to look forward more, we had to run forward and in behind and try to create more chances, and the guys were able to do it.
Another couple of goals against an ACC opponent for Saku and Emmanuel. Considering last season how much Luka had a lion's share of the goals, how has it been now to see this diverse set of goal scorers that we've been seeing so far this season?
Well, I think when you want to be the type of team that we're aspiring to be, right? We want to be a top team. You can't just have one player that scores goals, right? You need multiple sources of goals. You need wingers that are each scoring goals. You need an attacking mid that's creating goals and scoring goals. You probably need a couple set piece goals from your defenders. And I think, that was one of the goals from us as a staff is how can we create more goals from different sources, and so I think it's just really important for us to be able to be successful, because teams are going to gravitate towards and focus on Luka, and how can we stop Luka and keep him from becoming involved. And when they focus on him, now do spaces open up for other players, do opportunities open up for other players. And so I think having a balance takes the pressure off Luka, for one, to, he doesn't think, okay, in every moment I've got to be the one that scores. But I also think, you absolutely need to have it from a tactical standpoint. If they're going to focus on taking away your center forward, then maybe your wingers are open, or your attacking mid is able to get free. And if they can score goals or create chances, then now, you're so much more difficult to stop.
There's that old adage of goals change games. How much did that goal from Robbie just kind of open up the game for you guys? Because within that 15-minute span, you go out from 1-0 down to 3-0.
Yeah, I think psychologically it was important, because if you're in control of the game and you're really moving the ball well, and you're able to make the other team run and chase, but they're up 1-0, once that goes to 1-1, I think it's harder to do all that running. And when you go 2-1, it becomes even more difficult to do all that running. So I think psychologically that does help when you get that goal. And then it helps us. It gives us a boost, because we're like, okay, now we're level. Now let's go and get another. So I do think there's a psychological element to that, and coming back and getting that goal from Robbie, which was a great goal, I think that was really important.
Your team has shown that it can battle back. What do you need to do to jump out and control the game a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're moving in that direction. I think, just continue to work on the things we're working on, just get better around goal with both, the execution in the final third, some of the choices that we make. Once you get into that final third, the spaces are really small, the margins are really small for error, and so you have to be so much more precise than maybe in other parts of the field, so that takes more time. I think the final third always takes the absolute most time to get that right. The timing has to be perfect. It's so much more difficult, so I think that's going to be something we're going to continue to work on. We're going to continue to get better at, and hopefully we're creating even more chances with every game. But I do think it's pretty clear that we're improving, and from game to game to game in various ways that we've been working really hard at.
And how do you feel your team's recovering? You had a bunch of matches, kind of.
Yeah. I think it's physically. I think this one was difficult. I think energy-wise, they were good, but not maybe at their highest point. So I do think having matches so close together is difficult. We're starting to develop a rotation. We're starting to get more players involved in that rotation, so I think that will help. And now, again, we've got another match against, I don't know, I think FIU's top 10. So now we've got a top 10 team that we're going to have a great match with on Tuesday, and we have to recover. We got to do everything we can between now and then to be ready.
What would you say? Where would you say things in the back line went right today? Because Wambi only need to save one ball today.
Yeah, I think the relationships in that back line are improving. And, you see the effects of Zane in there, who's a physical presence, but also an organizer, excellent defender. He's playing really well. Jonas has come in. He's done incredibly well. He's a very smart player. Timo and Ando, right? Those guys are, as outside backs, have been great. But I also think the guys in front of them are really important too. Like the work that Robbie does and the work that AJ has done in those areas of the field in front of that back line. I think they give that back line some protection as well and make things a little bit more predictable. It's very rare that they get behind those two and they're running at our back line, which can cause you problems. So I feel like that group of six, they're becoming more synchronized. There's a greater understanding. It's continuing to improve. So, and we obviously it's a big emphasis that we try to keep clean sheets and minimize our opponent's chances. And I think we're getting there again, continuing to make the improvements we want.
One or two more for Coach. Within that first goal that you conceded, obviously playing out of the back and using Wanby's feet has always been something that you wanted within this team. You always run the risk of having those moments. I guess, building off of that and the relationship within the back line, how do you kind of shore up those mistakes like that?
Yeah, I think I don't think it was the right choice in terms of the pass he was trying to play, given kind of the position of everybody at that time. So I think, he could have chosen a different option rather than trying to play the option he ultimately ended up playing. But I think also our midfielders and other players can make it a little bit more obvious to them with their movements. At the same time, actually, if you watched when we went long, how many times we went long and the ball went right back down our throat, and we were then defending a chance and we were really stretched. It was equally as detrimental, if not even more so. I mean, obviously, if you pass the ball directly to a player who's right in front of goal, you're going to pay the price. But I do think if you watch some of the times when we went really big but didn't clear their back line, and then that center back won it and put it right back on us, there were chances that came from that too. So I don't think there's the best answer is do what we're doing better than we did it in that moment. And then if you're able to do that and do it really well, then now either the team's going to drop and have to step down because you've broken their press, or they're going to keep coming, and then you're going to be 3 versus 4 against their back line and a lot of space in behind them, and then you have to attack quickly in those moments. But I think it's the same plan, different based on how people are pressing us, but then execute it really well, and we're working on it.
What do you expect on Tuesday?
FIU's really good. They always come with a lot of energy and a lot of fight and a lot of belief. It'll be a big game. They'll be up for it. We'll be up for it. I think it's a battle. I think this is one of the best games in Florida. You know, I think they're a top team. They're going to be ranked. I don't know what their result is tonight. I'm just assuming that they won, and then you know, we'll be in a good position as well. And I think it's going to be a really exciting game.
Awesome. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks. You can get yours if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Are there any new opponents that you're like particularly excited to face this season going to the Big 12?
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, I watched Marshall play, and they are so good. They are so good. I was really impressed. I watched them against Wright State. Do you know Brighton? You ever seen Brighton play?
No, I haven't seen him play, but
So if you watch Brighton and then you watch Marshall, it's like watching the exact same game model and in college. You guys will see it when they play us. Like so Brighton, they'll come up with the ball and they'll stand with it. They'll put their foot on the ball, right? And they'll wait for you to jump, which is different than like Man City or some of these other teams. They want to provoke the press, but they'll provoke the press by a pass or by a dribble to initiate you to step out. They'll just put their foot on the ball. And then when they'll make like a lateral pass, but the distance is such that you're gonna go. And then when you go, it's just bang, 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 ball's wide, and then they're attacking. And Marshall did the same thing. And it's pretty impressive. So they're gonna be really difficult.
You gotta have the athletes to do that then too.
Oh, you have to have athletes, you have to have like football knowledge and understanding and like when it's very different to see it. And Brighton's very unique to the Premier League in how they play.
Which must make it difficult for teams to defend this, right? Because
Okay,
you're
yeah.
seeing this.
It's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult because they're also so patient, and they will literally just put their foot on the ball and wait. And then you're like waiting, and then you go, and then they find a way to break your pressure, and you're like, wow. And then they're at you. So we're gonna have to be really good against them. Kentucky's excellent. West Virginia's kind of a fun game because West Virginia is like the Big 12 championship. And so I think that's kind of cool because there's one Big 12 team and that game is like its own little regular season championship. So there's that. But I'm excited. I think there were four teams that have done really well so far in this early part of the season. I think Georgia State's really good too. Like they're going to be really good. Kentucky's really good. So yeah, there's a lot of good teams in this conference. I think we have a lot of good teams on the schedule. Period. So I think we'll be ready to play those games, having played these teams that we're playing.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Good stuff.
Good.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Coach.
Thanks.
You're